we've got the Prince of Peace, I'm sorry, President of Peace, bombing Iran. To your point, a couple of things, Mark, I want to bring up and get your comments on, Nolan. First of all, what was it? We broke the nuclear treaty with Iran. Then we bombed Iran and said we obliterated their nuclear capacity. Now we're bombing Iran again because of their nuclear capacity. So yeah, that doesn't make much sense to me. But to the point, I mean, the regime change. Hey, the Iranians had a democracy, and we killed it in 1953 and installed the Shah. And it was because of he was such a corrupt little bastard that the far right in their country, Khomeini, came the Iranian Revolution of '79 occurred. So this is all still our fault, is it not, Nolan?
No, I agree, and I think that history is really important, especially for young people who are coming to this for the first time. And I also want to pick up on Mark's point. Whether or not this is going to be actual regime change is going to be pivotal to how this moves forward. Typically, the United States has put troops on the ground when it's wanted to do these types of regime changes. How the United States public is going to react to that is a major question. But I also think there's a kind of a tell there on whether or not he leaves the same regime in place like he did in Venezuela or he changes it. And I think this gets back to the motives for the war. One thing you keep pointing out that a lot of people think is a possibility is this is a distraction from Epstein. It gets usually war is good for presidents in the short term. It gets a lot of patriotic fervor. People rally around the flag, and it can distract from some of the Epstein stuff. But strategically, the war really makes no sense for the United States. I mean, people are kind of scratching their head at this. You pointed out the nuclear weapons claim. Even like the most like kind of liberal estimates think Iran was like 10 years away from getting a nuclear weapon. And so that doesn't seem to make sense. The idea that Donald Trump cares about protesters is laughable. We saw what he's done in Minnesota, et cetera. So a lot of people think the only interest is Israeli interest. Israel wants hegemony in the region. So maybe this is on behalf of them. That's why I said I think the regime change will tell a story. If the same regime is in place, I think it leans more toward this is an Epstein distraction. If they remove the regime, I think that says the United States is working more so on behalf of Israel than its own interests. And I think that's going to run into President Trump's going to run into some problems with that, with his so-called America First base, which, that was one of the things that made Trump popular in the Republican Party. He stood on that stage during the 2016 election and called the 2003 Iraq War a disaster and a mistake, and he mocked the Bushes. And for a lot of young Republicans who believe that kind of stuff, that was huge for them and getting them into that MAGA movement.
Yeah.
And one of the big supporters of it, Charlie Kirk, was in the president's ear apparently back in June of 25, telling him not to continue this war with Iran. Of course, Kirk is now gone, and possibly the movement is gone with him. But I think that the last thing I wanted to say, and Mark touched upon this, and I think this is going to be a theme for most of the stories we're covering today. Congress desperately needs to assert its power. This is one of the things I don't think the founders could have realized is what if, humans didn't want power? What if they just want the illusion of power? And Congress for decades now basically just wants the illusion of power. They don't want to make any decisions that could theoretically get them elected out of office. And even the Supreme Court, a week or two ago, remember they had to remind Congress, like, actually tariffs are your rule, not the president's. Yeah. And ditto here with war. And I think that's just, it's stunning to watch a body, one of the branches of government, just get walked over consistently and not want to assert its power at every turn.
Well, and to roll over